Hello, this is Greg Wagner. I just wanted to go over how to make essentially a web project for CIS 279 of Java programming. And since there's been issues with the book, I thought I would just go over the main points in the video, and also I'll make some notes and also post those notes as well of how to do that. So the first thing, so basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk through um, homework 5, which was intended to be a tutorial on how to get started with this. And also, I wrote out a lot of the instructions for this specifically because a lot of this stuff is not intuitive, and I just kind of wanted to say this. You know, the tips I put in the tips and kind of techniques I use for doing web programming in Java in the notes. So if you want to follow on the notes with this, or just kind of listen and take your own notes, either way is fine. So with this, the learning objective for this assignment is basically twofold. Basically, understand the basics of Maven, which is a project builder, and also how to do web programming as well. So the first part of this assignment is going to be basically you need to make a project, and so since I recommended using Eclipse as the IDE for this one, but you can also you can also use you can do it from scratch, or you can also use IntelliJ or any other IDE. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new Maven project in Eclipse, and so what you can do is you click on New File, and then I have Maven project up here, but not everyone might have that. So I'm going to actually go to Other, and if you go to you should be able to find Maven project in here as well. So if you go to Java, I think it's the Enterprise Edition, or actually Maven. So if you don't have Maven installed, let me back up. If you don't see Maven there, go to Help, and then go to Ellipse Marketplace, or Install New Software, and you should be able to find Maven projects in there. But you should be able to get a Maven project in this. So I'm going to select a Maven project, and then I'm going to do is I'm going to actually you can make a more complex project, but since I'm going to be showing you how to do a lot of this stuff from scratch, I'm actually going to do a simple project, and then I'll build it up from there. So I'm going to hit next, and so the group ID and artifact ID are just ways of are stuff for the POM filer for the Maven project that just basically helps it kind of organize it. So if you do stuff under change control, so you might have heard of software like Get or SVN or Synergy. These are called change control softwares, and this allows you the group ID and artifact ID. So you can call it anything you want. So I'm going to call this group ID. I'll call it CIS279. So generally, you would call this for your business or your company or whatever. Artifact ID is going to be the name of your project, and so we'll call this web project, and then hit finish on the bottom right here, and it should generate it. So in my screen here, so in my downloads, I provided a POM file for you. So if I was to open this one up, I'll put it in a format you guys can actually see it in. It provides a lot of the stuff here that you need. And so I kind of auto-filled this out. Notice how this was my old one, so this one's called Web App. If you want to use this one and just replace your Web App here, or if you want to use what was provided before and just kind of fill in the parts that you want. And so the packaging, so basically what you want to do is take everything from the packaging line down, and scroll all the way essentially to the bottom. And then you can post this here. And then see a little error here, but this is not. So maybe you want to put your web your web company name here, or web page here. So I'll call this CIS279 web project, and this won't actually appear anywhere on the website. It's just basically for a formatting thing, and then save it. And then so say if I wanted to check to make sure I actually did the POM correctly. I have a terminal up, and so in Windows you'd use PowerShell, and make sure that you have Java and Maven installed on your computer. Or in Linux or Mac, you just use the terminal. So this is my directory, and I'm going to go to cd to web project. That means change directory to web project. So this command will should work in both in all basically terminal languages now. And then if I type MVN for Maven and then package, at least it ran. Let's see what I do wrong here. Oh, so I have the version up here twice. So if I get rid of this version once, it should work now. So the lesson is don't ignore the. So now it actually built. So when you see build success at the end here, that means it built. And so now, now that I have basically part of the package is working, I know that I have the Maven, so there'll be part B of 1B of your section. And then, and so just to kind of walk through what's in this, JUnit is a testing package for Java. And then these four are basically the Tomcat, which is the type of software that you use to build Java servlets, and that's basically all we're adding to this. And then notice here we have this tag, this environment tag saying Tomcat version. So right now I'm going to run 8.0.47, but you can run any version you want. There's newer versions out there. This is the one I just happen to be running. But what this will do is, the nice thing about Maven is if it's a package you need and it's not on a computer, it will download it for you if you correctly put in the dependency. So I'm showing the Tomcat packages, and then the build portion. So this is part of the dependencies. So if you ever want to put a new library in there, so like for the last assignment of this class, you're going to use SQL or SQL. You'll put the SQL package in there, and it'll download the jar file for you to do SQL stuff. And so I use Maven extensively to get packages, so I don't have to deal with managing the managing them. So I can update. If I update the version number, it will get a new version number for me. And then also with Maven, when I change the code, it will automatically just compile those portions. And then the next part is I have the build section. And so it's going to call the final name of my project web app. I think I just want to coincide with whatever you want to call it. So this will make what the executable is called. And then I have some plugins. The one I got it from codehost.mojo, Mojo Codehost, and then that's where I put these from. And then the assembly directory, the target, is where it's going to actually what outputs it's going to make when you do the package function. And so what it's going to make is it's going to make an executable file called web, and it's going to find how to make the main package for the executable file in a file called webdriver.main. So the next step is how we'll do that. This will be called the Tomcat Driver. And then another thing is the port number. So the port number in web programming is the basically kind of the application that you're going to run. So I'm putting mine at 5,000. So most websites use a port number by default of 81. And so, but I'll show you. But if you put in the URL later, you put dot colon 500 5000. That means it'll use port number 5000. I'll show this after we initially make the first website, or make the website running. So like I said, the next step we're going to go over is going to be from the from homework 5. It's going to be parts 1C. So the next thing we want to do is add the Tomcat Driver. And so the Tomcat Driver we're going to add here is going to be we're going to put in source main Java. We're going to make a new package. And we're going to call it the same. We're going to basically call it the same as this. Call it Web Driver. So basically, so you don't have to change anything. So I'm going to right click on this and make a new package, and then call this Web Driver, and then hit finish, or you can hit enter. And it'll make a new folder for you, which is in Java is called a package. And then if there's nothing in this, that's why this window is blank. But also, so when I add to this, is one of the other files I provided to you guys was called main.java. And if you can't find it, it's actually don't look on the assignment page, not on the content page for this assignment, because it doesn't have the files that's associated with this. So I'm going to add this file, and it's not going to let me. So let me. I'm going to use some magic and then add it real quick. And like magic, I'm back and I have the file added in here. So I have the main file in here. If I double click on this, you should see this is the file I provided to you guys. And then if you hit the expansion button, you should see all the values in here. So I have a couple warnings in here. You can take these out if you want, but warnings, so these yellow buttons, don't affect the performance or anything. It's just kind of best practice. And I have these in here from since I modified this from other website code I had. And so basically what this main file does is notice here we have these all these resources here we wouldn't have access to unless we made the POM file download all the stuff for Tomcat. So all this stuff comes from Tomcat. All the stuff up here is already preloaded with Java. So this is going to be additional stuff that your Maven build files will add for you. And then in your main file, so if you go back to the POM file, it basically what it's going to do is build the driver of the main class of the class, and then look for basically your load whatever your main program is in your main class. So I have main here, and then I also have main here. So it's going to run this file, and basically what this does is it runs a function called getRootFolder, which basically finds out where your starting folder is, and then essentially builds all the components for your to build your Tomcat server. And you can kind of look up what all these terms do. Kind of the main key ones are the system.get get environment. So an environment value is a value set on the operating system. When we ran this line here as part of the port configuration, basically it sets it at 5,000. So it basically says, okay, I'm going to make an environment variable in the operating system when I build this file as 5,000. So it's going to play 5,000 support number. So it basically says when I run my server, it's going to run this as a port value. And then just a lot of other stuff that just helps. It basically sets up the Tomcat server or the servlet server for this program. And then now, I like to do this whenever I start adding new files, is I'm going to rebuild the Tomcat. So another command you can do in Maven, so I did Maven, so I'm going to do Maven Clean, which gets rid of all the basically gets rid of everything. Now if I do Maven package, I'm hoping this will not error out. And so I got a success here. So now that I have a success here, and I can actually build a file. If I look in the directory here, I have essentially three. I have Palm, which is a file, and then in Linux. The way I have Linux set up right now, these blue things are directories. So if I go, source is where my source code is, and target is where anything I build using Maven gets put. So if I go cd into target, and then hit ls, I should see the files I built. And then bin stands for binary, so this is where any of the new running code I can run is. So if I cd into bin, hit S, I should see two files. I see web, which is the file you can use to run your server on Linux, and web.bat is what's called a batch file, and it's a way to run basically a script of code on Windows. And so so I'm going to do is I'm going to step up to the web project, and then I'm going to run see if I can remember this. And so when I run sh, which stands for shell, and then this will run the script in shell, this will start my server. So this shows that it's running, but since I don't have any files for it to really read right now, I don't have anything to really show it. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go to, I still need to add a little bit more content to get this to run a little bit more, but at least it's making some progress. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add a file called web.xml. And the web.xml file, so what you need to do is, if you go to, you need to create basically a new file. So within, so I'm going to make it in the source main. I only have a Java and resources in there. I'm going to make a new file, new folder. I'm going to call this one web app. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, using my magic again, I'm going to add the file that we downloaded. I guess I can just open it up too. Well, I'll use my magic, and so what I need to do is add a couple things real quick. So let me refresh this because I just copied the value in here. So I need to make a folder called, also in here called, web, all caps, minus sign or dash, inf. And then I already put the web one in here, so I need to just basically drag this value in here, and I'll open this value up, file up here. And so this is one I provided for you. This is a web file, and basically it tells the server where your default files are, and then for other parts of the assignment we'll add more to this. But basically when you have this stuff in here, it will tell you how to get to certain files. It basically tells you how to get to certain files. And so I'll call this CIS279 web app, and you can call this whatever you want. But this will basically break it down. So with we'll go into this a little bit more later. But the servlet, this basically tells you tells the server where to look for servlets, which are just basically little files that runs on the server. Servlet mapping just tells you if it's inconsistent matching, where to map stuff to. And the welcome file list is when if you open up a website, like the top domain, the domain name for a website, or any type of top file without any page name, what file to look for. So this looks for index files essentially, and we'll put an index file in here to test it next. And then the last thing we need to do is actually finally add an index file. So we want to put our index file in webapp dot web app. So what I'm going to do instead of, I actually provided you guys one. To be honest, I let it a little hard time downloading it because I kept on wanting to open up it as a web page. So actually, if you guys aren't familiar with HTML, or just kind of see how I do it, I'll quickly just kind of make an HTML file that you can try out. So if I want to right click on this, and then I'll make a new file. I'm going to call this file name index.html to match what I did for this portion. And then also what I'm going to do is, so I like having these kind of tagged packages up top here. So if I go to web app right now and right click on it and go to new other, and let's see, Java. If I go to source folder, I already put that in here, so that's what I need to do though. Try it one more time. So other, or actually, if I go to top layer here, new source folder, and then since I already have one selected, it'll put it up here with all the stuff already in it. So since this is an HTML file, there's actually a few options I can do called open with, and so there's HTML editor. Also, I can make a web page editor as well. And so I'm going to open it with the web page. What this allows you to do is you can have a design page, and then you can kind of actually see what it looks like. And so kind of gives you some hints here. And so I'll make the body, so I'm going to give it a title. Or not body, header. Header title. Let's see what this error is here. It's saying here. I'll fix the header later. And then for the body, I'll just put in. So H1 means it's a big title page. I'll say, "Hello world," and then we'll say in P format. So welcome to CIS web app. So I'll save this. And I realized I made an error. It should be not header, but head. Headers from something else. And the title I can put in here. So my title will be Hello World. And so if I preview this page, you should see this content here. So now the next thing I'll do, and also just kind of see if I did it right, is I'm going to redo the Maven portion. And then I'm going to run the web app. And then I'm going to bring a new page in. And it's still not loading, so that's not good. So I made a mistake, and I said 5,000. So for some reason by default, so let me check to see what I actually put the value as. Oh, so I must have actually not set the environment value. So the web port value is going to be 880. So if I already loaded this just a second ago, but you go to localhost and I type 8080. So if I do localhost colon 8080, this will bring up whatever you put on your page. And then if you make any changes to the index file, so say I add one more line. Say like additional content. If I reload this page, you can see the content here. So the server will basically just load up whatever the latest page is. So once you see the page, this means you've done enough to complete basically to make a web page, a web server. So it should get you 75% on your first assignment. So on to part 2. So the next part is we actually want to make a servlet page. And so a servlet page is basically a dynamic web page that's now that you have a server that you control, you can actually start loading stuff to that. And so it's going to be built into Java. And so what we want to do for this is we want to make our first servlet page. And so what we want to do is get a page that handles a response, that is going to handle a response from a request from a user to your web page. So the way I'm going to do that is kind of follow essentially the instructions that we need for this. Basically, I'm going to go through the instructions for parts 2 of the homework assignment. And so for this, for part 2 of this assignment, we basically want to make a web servlet. So the first step you would do to that is we're going to make a new directory, and then in here I want to put the template. So I'll go to main Java, main content, nothing in there. Now I'm going to copy and paste the template file I gave you guys into main content. And then when I refresh this value, and if you guys are screaming at the screen, you can hit F5. For some reason, F5 doesn't work for me on this one, so I call my package servlet pages. So let me fix this real quick so it lines up with what you guys got. So main content should be, if I go to refactor, change this to servlet pages, it will fix it, and at least some of the errors will go out. So the class is going to be called content. This name did not line up, so I'm going to rename this. And call this content. Actually, let's see what they call it before. I'm going to refactor this. Call it content with a capital C, because you want the name of the class to match what you're doing, and then the name of your file. So I'm going to call this content here, and fix this as content here. But you don't have to do this for this. You can just change anything you want. So taking a look at this file, you're going to see here that there's basically, within a servlet, essentially there's three default. So kind of step through what the servlet package does is, let me expand this. So it's bringing in some stuff here. We'll add print writer. Right now there's a warning, but we'll add this in a second. You have your content. So this extends the HTTP servlet. HTTP is the web, the protocol, or the way, basically the set of rules for doing hypertext content, which is hypertext. So HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Hypertext is basically web pages, and the servlet does this. And so there's basically three. It's an interface that already has three, or technically four, more than this, but three main methods already associated. Int, which basically, if there's any files or data you want to initialize as soon as the server comes up, this will be called. Do get. So this handles get requests, which are requests that transfer information through the URL. And do post, which handles requests that transfers information in separate HTTP packages. So basically, do get. Get would transfer like text, insecure text, like through a form, and post is more secure. And you can transfer text, but you can also transfer other media like images and videos, and usually use this for larger stuff, for larger counts of data. So, but these are the the three ways in here, and we'll talk about later how you get through do get and do post. And so, what I want you to do for your content is basically handle a get request from your index page. So I want to set up how you would handle this this request. And basically what you do is, so we're going to do a get request. So it's going to go through do get, and so the first thing we want to do is we'll do string message equals request. So request is a passed-in value, passing the message from a user, someone that's accessing your website. If I do request and then I do get parameter, what the parameter will do is, if you have a parameter of a certain name, so in this case we're going to call it message, which is basically, I'll show you in a second, but it's basically type away your URL. And then this will basically, whatever strings associated with that parameter message, and then everything transferred over HTTP is going to be transferred as text, so it's going to be stored as a string. So I have the message value here. And then all I really want you to do is I want you to set up a print writer. A print writer is basically a way to, it's like I'm using, when you guys use printout, it's just a kind of a class to do that. And did I not? I have initialized here. Generally it's called out in SQL, in servlet stuff. So I'm going to get out request. And so this is basically also the page you're going to write back to. Or I'm sorry, response is the page you're going to write back to. And then I'll do get writer. This will basically say, okay, whenever I use this out command, it's going to write text back to the web page. So you can actually do this to kind of make web pages for yourself. And so from here now, I'm going to actually output the message. So since I'm writing I want to do HTML, so I'm going to do out dot print line. So it's just like print line from, we use system.out, and then I'm just going to put a string in there. So I'm going to do h1 message colon quote plus message. So this is going to be this value here, and then I made a typo in the. If you look at the assignment earlier, I put a typo in there. It should be backslash or slash h1 to show that you ended the script. And then output this value. And then what you want to do is if you do return, lets you know it in, but it won't. It's not necessary since this is going to be a void function. So I'm going to save this, and then hopefully it builds. So I just if you get stuck in the server like I was there, I hit Control C, and that kills the server. And so I'm going to remake the package. So whenever you change the .java files, you have to remake the package to see the changes. If you change any of the web pages, you don't actually have to rebuild the server essentially. So in this case, I'm going to do the web stuff. It looks like it's running. So now what I want to do is to test to see if content is working. And so there's a few things. It looks like it built. And so I have this line here, and I kind of skipped over it earlier. It's called Web Servlet, and it'll say, okay, if you type in whatever your file name is and main content, it'll automatically, the server knows to go to this page when it sees main content when you type it in your URL. So hopefully this is right. So I got localhost 1880. So I'm going to refresh this. Still the home page. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type slash main dash content, and then in HTML, if I put a question mark, that means I'm going to do a get. I'm sending a get message. So I'm going to first put the parameter, and the parameter is going to be message. So this has to match exactly in case what you can't quite see it, but what this value is here. And then you do equal sign, and then just whatever strings after equal signs, it's going to put as your message. So I'm going to say test. And then hopefully this test passes. And you can see here I do message test, which message matches what my message should be here. And to prove if I did it with I do another word, I could do test 2. It still handles it. But if you want to put a space in there, you're actually going to have to put and I forgot what it's off my head, but the special command for spaces. So if I do this, well, actually fixed it for me automatically. Yeah, if you do %sign 20, that means space in HTML. And 2, I do test 2. So if you already get this far, it's working. We're almost done. We got one more thing to try out, and then we will complete this. You'll complete this assignment. And so finally, for the last thing, is if we we want to change index.html to actually pass information. So I'm going to actually hard code this in here, and what I'm going to add in is a form. And so within the body part of your code, you type form action. Well, actually, let me do it on the interactive one because it'll look better. If I do form let's see, it's not showing up here, but you'll see in the preview. I do form and then action. So by default, the action is actually going to be the action is what page it's going to go to. So I'm going to go to main content, and then method, and I'm going to actually change this to a post. So you can see how both of them work. And then let's see what I was going to do as part of the form. So I'll make this a little bit cleaner. And then, let's see. So input is where you put input in. Type, so it's going to take text. Name, I'm just going to call this message, so it's going to match whatever the value is passed over. So this is going to be your parameter value. And then value, I'm going to have a default value in there called test. But you can change, this allows you to also change it as well. And then another breakpoint. And then I'm going to put another input type called submit, which is basically makes all the inputs and the value get submitted to the new website, and it goes to whatever the action is after it gets run. So I'll do submit value, and you can put whatever you want in here as for the button name. I'm just going to be boring and call it submit, but you can call it whatever you want. And also, you can also do stuff where you do cancel and stuff like that as well. And then, let's see, what am I missing? So that should be all of it. So I'm going to look at the preview. This looks right. I'm going to save it. And then now, so all thing I modified was the HTML page. I actually don't have to rebuild the server. So I'm going to go to the home page. Oh, actually, I made a mistake. I need to do one more thing real quick. I got to go to content. So I'm going to copy and paste. So I set this up. So the do post, it's actually just going to go to do get. So everything should work out fine here. I forgot that I did that. So now if I go to the index page, let's get rid of all this stuff here. I have my new page now. So I'm going to run test 3 and hit submit. And you can see that the main contents come up here. So if you've waited this long and watched the video and you've been able to get through all these steps, you should be able to get, this will be 100% on your assignment, and I'll make one for JSPs for next week. Also, if you're having a lot of issues with building and stuff like that in Maven, they may not actually be your fault. There might be some computer issues. So let me know if you're having build issues. I had one student last semester that wasn't able to get anything to run on her computer for Java stuff, for the server stuff. So we might have to tweak the assignment a little bit for yourself. But other than that, thanks for sticking through this, and I hope to talk to you on another video.